Before we start today's video, I want to let you guys know I'm doing a $3.5 million shark card giveaway for the new HVY Menacer and some of the other content that's come out in the After Hours update. If you win this shark card giveaway, it's yours. You don't have to spend it on the vehicle that I'm doing it for, but we are going to celebrate the release of the Menacer today. So I've got a shark card giveaway going on my Twitter account right now. If that's something that interests you, I'll leave a link to it in the description. I'll be selecting the winner in a couple days, probably sometime this weekend. So you've got plenty of time to jump on that. But anyways, let's get into it. It's a little bit of an awkward transition because now what I'm going to be discussing is some buyer beware for the Menacer and if this vehicle is actually worth it when we compare it to some of the other vehicles that, people are going to be using, like the Night Shark or the Insurgent Pickup Custom or the Barrage, vehicles like that. How does it stack up? Well, we have to start with our barrier to entry, as always, and that is price. And unfortunately, this vehicle is a lot more expensive than its competition. So it doesn't have a trade price, but it is available on the Warstock Cash and Carry site for $1,775,000. Now, it is a 5-seater, which is a little bit more than some of your other vehicles, but $1.775 million is a lot, especially when we start to compare it to some of the competition, which again is what we're going to be comparing this vehicle to. So if we start with the Barrage, its trade price knocks it down to $1,595,000. So it technically is cheaper once you complete its Doomsday Heist mission. If we take a look at the Night Shark is $1.245 million, but if you logged on like 3 weeks ago, you got this thing for free. So really, the cost should be none. No one had an excuse to not pick up a Night Shark. So that's free, basically. The vehicle after that is the Insurgent Pickup Custom, which only costs a couple $100,000 to turn into it, but its default is $1.35 million. So once again, it's still cheaper. And if you want to compare it to the regular Insurgent, which doesn't have any guns, it's only $675,000. So needless to say, the Menacer is the most expensive of the options we're going to be looking at today. And if we want to compare it to its direct competitor, which I would say is the Insurgent Pickup Custom, it's more expensive, it can hold fewer people, and as you guys are about to see in this upcoming video, it doesn't necessarily make it all that better either. But let's start with the Menacer first. So once you buy this vehicle, another thing you need to be aware about is it cannot be upgraded inside of the Los Santos custom shop. So by now, you guys are probably fine with stuff like this happening, where a vehicle has to be upgraded in an MOC or an Avenger. I'm sure you guys have one of these vehicles, so it's not that big of a deal. But if you don't, you're not going to be able to fully enjoy the Menacer because it has to be upgraded in the weapon and vehicle workshop of a MOC or an Avenger. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, let's talk about something positive with this vehicle, and that is it has amazing customization. I mean, I am shocked just by the amount of customization this vehicle has. It's pretty crazy. Whether it's bumpers or the exhaust, changing the grille, the hood, the livery options, the skirt options, the roof options. I mean, this vehicle has so much you can do. And it's not like there's one or two options under each one. There's sometimes like 20 options under each one. So customization for the HVY Menacer absolutely gets an A+. It's one of the best vehicles in the game that you can customize, which I think is just terrific. Because sometimes we get vehicles like this, and it's almost like Rockstar just skipped over the customization. So I'm really glad to see that they did not do that with this vehicle. I mean, the HVY Menacer, you could literally spend an entire day customizing this thing the way you want. So that, of course, is a great positive of this vehicle. But I'm sure you're not going to spend nearly $2 million when it's all said and done to have a vehicle that just looks good. You're going to be buying the HVY Menacer because you want to know if it's the new best armored and weaponized vehicle. So let's run some tests on that right now. I guess we'll start with the armor test. Number one, and I should point this out because there really isn't a test to run here, it does not have bulletproof glass. That's kind of disappointing. So you're not going to be protected in this vehicle at all. Really, the one saving grace this vehicle has is very small windows. So at a minimum, it's a little bit harder to shoot you inside, but no bulletproof glass. So if you're not inside the vehicle, so let's say you've got this thing parked on the street or you've just delivered it, it can actually survive a couple of RPGs, which is actually impressive. So it can survive 3 explosives, so an RPG, a sticky bomb, grenade launcher, and then on the 4th one, it ends up blowing up. Now, you might not say to yourself, that's all that impressive, but that number actually increases if you're inside of the vehicle. So if you're driving the HVY Menacer, which I'm assuming a lot of you guys will be, it can actually survive 7 explosives with the 8th one actually destroying it. So that right there is good news. It puts it just about on par with the Insurgent Pickup Custom. So both of those have roughly the same armor resistance when it comes to explosive resistance. So at least at that level, it's really, really good. Now, one of the other downsides about the Menacer, and this is something that I think is going to frustrate a lot of players, is even though you have access to weapons like pistols and submachine guns, you don't have access to explosives, meaning you can't actually throw sticky bombs or grenades outside of the vehicle while you're inside. Now, you do have access to the little pea shooters on the front, but you are limited to the number of weapons that you can use while inside. I wonder if this has to do with the small windshield or the small windows, or if this is something Rockstar just tried to do in order to balance out this vehicle. Now let's talk about the 2 weapons on this vehicle. The pea shooters on the front, pretty standard, the same ones that are on the Night Shark, the same ones that are on the Revolter. They're really only great for like emergency situations or blowing up an NPC's car. They're really not all that effective. Then the 50 cal gun on top or the 50 cal minigun, again, very similar to something you would see on the Barrage, something very similar you would see on the Insurgent Pickup Custom. So weapons are pretty much a wash. They're exactly the same. Now let's start to compare the Menacer against some of the more other popular vehicles that you might compare this with. So for the sake of this video, let's use the Night Shark and the Insurgent Pickup Custom. You could throw in the Barrage in there, but it's slightly different, so we're going to exclude it. Let's start with the speed of this vehicle. It's absolutely the slowest one we're going to be looking at today, which is a huge bummer. So that's one thing that I just don't like about this vehicle. For whatever reason, Rockstar made it very, very slow. Now, it's still a pretty good off-road vehicle. Like, it has enough torque and initial acceleration to be able to climb up hills and get yourself out of tricky situations, but it's not fast enough to be able to compete on main roads, especially in straightaways. That's where the Night Shark and the Insurgent Pickup Custom are going to blow you out of the water. So that is a huge advantage to those 2 vehicles. Another advantage those 2 vehicles have, they have the ability to tow stuff. The Night Shark and the Insurgent Pickup Custom can both tow the anti-aircraft trailer or other trailers that can be towed as well. And what's funny is the Menacer has like a tow hook on the back and the front of this vehicle, but you can't seem to use it. So that's kind of unfortunate. I don't know why Rockstar didn't give us the option here. It would have made this vehicle a lot more useful in my opinion. So that's pretty interesting right there. A couple of in-game quirks you're going to notice about this vehicle. Number one is it does have its own icon on the minimap. So when you're driving around, and probably a lot this week, you'll see other people using the Menacer, and you'll see that they have their own little special icon on the minimap as well. So you'll be able to know when one of these vehicles is coming. If you happen to blow yours up or you blow another person's up, it's going to cost $10,000 in the Moors Mutual as far as your insurance goes. So that's something to keep in mind as well. You don't want to just go blowing these things up because it is going to cost you a little bit of money in order to fix them and get them back to the way they are. The next thing for me is kind of a personal thing. I really dislike the shape of this vehicle. It looks like a crunched cube that's been like combined with a Hummer. So I don't understand what Rockstar was going for here. I'm sure they were, designing this after a real life military vehicle of sorts, but in game it just looks so weird. So I know style is not something that everyone is going to care for in this vehicle. In fact, I'm sure it might be one of the less things they care about. But for me, it does matter a bit. And this thing just personally for me looks really, really ugly. So I'm not a huge fan of that at all. So let me give you guys my final verdict on this vehicle, what I think about it. I think it's an okay vehicle. At the end of the day, $1.775 million is pretty pricey, and what you're getting at it is a armored and weaponized vehicle that has a ton of customization, like an A+++ amount of customization. And on its own, like if it was the only armored and weaponized vehicle, it would be a decent option. It has pretty good performance in terms of its armored ability, pretty good weapons, but when you compare it to the already existing weaponized vehicles in the game and armored vehicles like the Night Shark, Insurgent Pickup Custom, etc., it really is just a worse, more expensive version. So if you already own a Night Shark, if you're already happy with the Insurgent Pickup Custom, and you would only be using the Menacer as a competitor to that, then you just shouldn't buy this vehicle. It's really not worth it. However, if you're a fan of the Menacer in terms of its unique customization, you're building yourselves a garage full of vehicles like this that are armored and weaponized, then I think at the end of the day, it's fun. But I think for most people that are either going to be concerned about saving their money or how it compares to vehicles they already own, this is one that I would just simply not buy. It's not worth your cash. This is really only useful for the collector, or as we've mentioned in other videos, someone like Scrooge McDuck or Elon Musk that has plenty of money and they don't really care where it ultimately goes. But anyways, that right there is my review of the HVY Menacer and some buyer beware to go along with it. Let me know your thoughts, opinions, and more on this vehicle in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And also, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.